It wasn't that the reflection didn't look like me, it was that it started watching me. Like it knew something I didn't. I moved into a small studio apartment in March. Just something temporary while I got back on my feet after a rough breakup. It wasn't much. Creaky floors, one window that barely opened. You look, you move on. But something about this one started bothering me about 2 weeks in. In a bathroom mirror that always felt slightly too tall, like it had been hung for someone bigger than me. I'd lift my toothbrush with my right hand, and there'd be the slightest, barely noticeable lag in the reflection. I'd frown, and my mirrored face would hold the neutral expression a split second too long before following suit. At first, I thought nothing of it. People don't really think about mirrors. I'd catch subtle inconsistencies. The weirdest part, I chalked it up to stress, sleep deprivation, maybe some post-breakup paranoia. I leaned in to inspect the zit near my jawline, one of those deep, painful ones you can't pop. I pressed my fingers around it, watching closely in the mirror. But every time I brought it up with friends, they'd laugh it off or say I was just lonely. Then came the night it moved on its own. I just finished brushing my teeth, and then it happened. My reflection blinked, twice, but I didn't blink. I stood completely still staring, my real eyes dry and open. But in the mirror, the version of me stared back, calm, expressionless. Then he tilted his head to the side, just a few degrees like he was studying me, told myself I imagined it. I didn't sleep that night, but the footage showed nothing, just normal movement. Whatever was wrong, it wasn't showing up on camera. I stumbled back, heart racing, eyes locked on the mirror. As I walked past the bathroom, I heard a tap. The apartment was so small, and the bathroom was the only one I had. Every time I walked past it, I felt watched, like something was standing just behind the glass, pretending to be me. The reflection remained perfectly still again, mirroring me. I laughed nervously, shook my head, and walked out of the bathroom. Should have gone back to bed and never looked back. The next day, I avoided the mirror as much as possible. But it was hard. I started testing it, waving suddenly, jumping, making weird faces. Except for a single word, smeared in the condensation with a fingertip. Most of the time, the reflection responded normally. But once, just once, I raised my right hand and waved, and the mirrored hand went up a second late. I sat on the couch, lights on, facing the hallway until sunrise. I felt sick. I even filmed it, hoping to prove I wasn't losing it. I duct taped the edges so it wouldn't slip. I haven't gone near it since. Then, on the fourth night, I made a mistake. I couldn't sleep again, so I got up to grab some water. Like a fingertip against glass. I paused, another tap. I turned slowly. The bathroom door was open a crack. The light inside was off. I should have kept walking, just slightly. Like something behind the mirror is testing the boundary. But something, curiosity, fear, maybe something else made me open the door. And the mirror ... it was completely fogged over. Let me out. I staggered back, slammed the bathroom door shut, and pushed the laundry hamper in front of it like that would somehow help. I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, the message was gone. That was 3 nights ago. Now, I keep the mirror covered with an old bedsheet, but here's the part that's messing with my head. I still hear tapping, sometimes soft, sometimes urgent. Always when I'm trying to fall asleep. And just now tonight, I swear I saw the corner of the sheet lift on its own. I don't know what happens if it gets out, and honestly, I'm starting to wonder if it already has. Because when I looked in the black screen of my TV a few minutes ago, I saw my reflection again. It was smiling, and I wasn't.
The elevator stopped on a floor that didn't exist. No lights, no sound, just the doors refusing to open, and something breathing on the other side. I travel for work. After a while, all hotels start to blur together. The stale carpet smell, the recycled air, the too soft pillows. I never thought twice about elevators either, until last month, when one took me somewhere I don't think I was supposed to go. It was a Thursday night. I'd just flown into Minneapolis for a 2-day conference and checked into a mid-range hotel. Downtown, nothing fancy, but clean enough. My room was on the 9th floor. I remember, because I joked to the receptionist that I always seem to get the same room number at different hotels. Maybe it's a lucky sign, she smiled. I unpacked, showered, and watched some TV. Around 11:30 p.m., I decided to grab a snack from the vending machines in the lobby. I threw on a hoodie and slipped out of my room. The hallway lit with that humming yellow light typical of hotels. I pressed the elevator button, and after a few seconds, the doors opened. I stepped in alone and hit L for lobby. The ride down was smooth at first. I checked my phone 2 bars, but no new messages. Then, just after passing the 4th floor, the elevator jerked slightly. The lights flickered once. Then instead of slowing to a stop at the lobby, it kept going. I looked up. The digital display above the door was blank. No numbers, no letters, just empty black. That's when I realized the elevator was still descending. Far past the lobby, I hit the open door button. Nothing. Pressed lobby again. No response. I tried the emergency button, but it didn't beep or buzz. The panel wasn't dead, but it wasn't doing anything either. Finally, the elevator stopped. There was no ding, no announcement. Just a quiet, final clunk, and the doors didn't open. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then I started pressing buttons again. Every one. The door button, emergency, even random floors. Nothing happened. That's when I noticed it. The lights in the elevator had dimmed not all at once, but like a slow sunset. And the air, it had that underground chill, not cold enough to see my breath, but dense, still, dead. I stepped toward the door and knocked, yelling, "Hello? Can anyone hear me?" No response. But I swear, after a few seconds, I heard something. Breathing, not mine. Something slow and heavy, just on the other side of the door. I froze. Then, very quietly, something scraped along the outside of the elevator, like nails, dragging across metal. I backed up, heart thudding. I don't know why, but I opened the emergency hatch on the elevator ceiling. It took a few tries. Dee'd never done it before, but eventually I pushed it open and hoisted myself up. My arms were shaking so bad I almost slipped. Inside the shaft, it was pitch black above and below, except for the elevator's roof, light spilling out into the dark. Dust hung in the air. I looked up. No sign of a hatch, ladder, or even cables. Just solid darkness above. But below, there was a faint red glow. Very faint, like the glow of an exit sign from far, far away. It wasn't coming from the elevator. It was beneath the shaft. Beneath me. Then I heard a voice, whispering my name. It didn't sound angry or panicked, it sounded hungry. I ducked back into the elevator, slammed the hatch shut, and braced against the corner. My phone was useless. Still had signal, but no calls were going through. Texts wouldn't send. Like the connection was frozen in time. And then, the elevator moved again. But it didn't go up. It dropped. Not fast, like a free fall. Just a slow, steady descent, like something had taken control. The whole cab vibrated. I could hear groaning metal, as if the walls around me were tightening. I pressed myself into the corner, fists clenched, just waiting for it to stop. Finally it did. The doors creaked open. What I saw wasn't the basement. It was a hallway, long, windowless, with concrete walls stained with something dark and dried. Fluorescent lights buzzed above, half flickering, the rest completely out. At the far end, I could barely make out a shape, a tall, unmoving silhouette just standing there, not facing me, not moving, just waiting. I didn't step out. I didn't breathe. Then the silhouette twitched. I slammed the door close button over and over until the elevator finally obeyed. The doors shut just as I saw the figure take a single step toward me. The elevator rocketed upward. This time, I felt the force pulling me down as it surged past floors. The panel above flickered back to life, showing numbers climbing fast. It stopped at 9. My floor? When the doors opened again, everything looked normal. Bright hallway, soft yellow lights, the same faded floral carpet. I sprinted to my room, slammed the door, and shoved a chair under the handle. I didn't sleep that night, just sat on the bed, staring at the door, waiting for a knock that never came. The next morning, I checked out early and asked the front desk about the elevator. The man behind the counter raised an eyebrow. "Which one?" he asked. "The one on the left," I said. "Closest to the vending machines." He stared at me for a second, then gave a nervous laugh. "That elevator's been shut down for maintenance since Tuesday," he said. "Should be locked. Nobody's used it." I didn't argue. I just nodded, left the building, and never looked back. And I never take the left elevator anymore, no matter where I stay. He never said a word, but somehow the bellhop knew my name, my room number, and the exact contents of my suitcase. Before I even checked in, I checked into the Belgrave Hotel last October, during a business trip to Chicago. My flight was delayed 6 hours, and by the time I arrived, it was just after 1 a.m. The lobby was nearly empty. One sleepy clerk behind the desk, a janitor buffing the tile floor, and the quiet hum of an old jazz song playing faintly through the overhead speakers. I remember being relieved the place still had someone at the counter. I was exhausted and just wanted a shower in bed. The front desk clerk greeted me by name before I even said anything. "Mr. Elliot, right?" I paused. "Yeah? How'd you?" He smiled, shrugged. "We've been expecting you." He handed me a key card for room 604, apologized for the late hour, and motioned toward the elevator. That's when I noticed the bell. He was standing silently beside a brass luggage cart near the elevator doors. Early 20s. Maybe. Pale. Thin. Wearing the old-fashioned maroon bellhop uniform you don't really see any more complete. He didn't speak, just nodded politely and extended his hand toward my suitcase. Thanks," I muttered, a little unsure. I usually carry my own bag, but I was too tired to argue. I let him wheel the cart toward the elevator. We rode up in silence. The only sound was the faint squeak of the cart's wheels and the occasional creak of the old elevator cables. I tried to make small talk. "Long night, huh?" No reply. I figured maybe he didn't hear me, or didn't speak much English. But then I noticed something odd. He pressed the button for the 6th floor without me saying anything. And not just that, once we got there, he wheeled the cart down the hallway and stopped right in front of room 604. I hadn't told anyone my room number except the guy at the desk, and even that was just a nod. Still, I chalked it up to internal communication and maybe good service. I thanked him as I slid the keycard into the lock. He handed me my bag, nodded once more, and then walked away. I didn't tip him only, because I realized too late that I hadn't seen a name tag, or even a face clearly. It was like he moved in shadows, barely lit. I turned to say something, but the hallway was already empty. I took a quick shower and collapsed into bed. Tried not to overthink it. Big hotels have their quirks. But around 3 a.m., I woke up. There was knocking on my door. 3 slow knocks. I froze. I live in hotels half the year, and I know no one knocks at 3 a.m. unless something's wrong. I tiptoed to the peephole. Nothing. I opened the door a crack. The hallway was empty again. But at my feet, was a pair of white gloves. Bellhop gloves. I stepped back inside, locked the door, and tossed the gloves on the desk, telling myself maybe he'd dropped them by accident. But something about them gave me the chills, like they weren't just left behind, but deliberately placed. The next morning, I brought the gloves to the front desk and asked about the bellhop who had helped me. The receptionist blinked at me. "We don't have bellhops, haven't in years." I thought he was joking. "I'm serious," he said. Young guy. Pale. Quiet. Full uniform. Red coat. Gloves helped me to my room last night. The clerk looked uneasy. He glanced at an older man behind him. His manager maybe, who stepped forward and lowered his voice. "You said he helped you to your room." I nodded. "Did he speak to you?" "No," I said. Just nodded. Seemed like he already knew where I was staying. Even knew my name. The man's face went pale. "Sir, ... If you're joking, it's not funny." "That sounds like Thomas." "Thomas. He was a bellhop here, years ago. Died in an elevator accident, around this time of year. Actually, the elevator cable snapped on the 6th floor. He was crushed instantly." I stared at him. I rode that elevator. With him. The man gave me a tight-lipped nod. "You're not the first guest to say that, but only during October." I asked him if they'd ever found the gloves. He shook his head. Said they disappear after a day or two, like they were never there. I went back to my room, heart pounding, trying to convince myself it was a prank. But when I stepped inside, the gloves were gone, and folded neatly on my pillow was a room service menu, with a note at the bottom in careful handwriting. "Need anything, Mr. Elliot?" I never told anyone back home. I checked out early, and I always carry my own bags now.